All right, Nuggets fans, welcome in to Pickaxe and Roll, brought to you by our good friends over at BetOnline. I am your host, Ryan Blackburn, at NBA Blackburn on Twitter, part of the Mile High Sports Podcast Network, and I am here. I am excited on this Monday morning to talk about last night's Nuggets win. Hey, they got a win. Let's go. got a win after it's been kind of a rough go for a little bit for this Nuggets team. The Washington loss is not going away. I didn't podcast after that one on this platform. I did on another platform, but that one was bad. And it's going to take a while to fully recover from that and for the Nuggets to ultimately build up enough credit to deserve your trust after something like that. So it'll be a little bit, and it's going to be a process, but this was a good start. This was a good start for the Nuggets, and you got to hope that they continue to participate in their own recovery. We will talk about that in the last segment today. I'm your host, Ryan Blackburn. Thank you so much for tuning into the show. Really appreciate all the love and support on the podcast. Hit the like button down below. Hit the subscribe button. Would really appreciate it. If you're listening on the audio side, thank you so much. Would it be awesome if you could leave a 5-star review as we continue to put out those episodes every single week. All right. Thank you so much for tuning in. Himiz says, Ryan, I know you didn't sleep. Himiz was in the chat yesterday for Locked On Nuggets, and we had a good time. It was good. It was a very, very interesting game, and Matt and I are doing really good work over there as well, so make sure to go check that out. But if you're over here, and I really appreciate you if you're over here on this Monday morning, different time slot, obviously, for some different folks. Really interesting Nuggets game, really interesting moment, and I am glad for the folks that are showing up in both places. That is the most important thing for me. Really quickly, this podcast, as you know, it's brought to you by the good folks over at BetOnline, who continues to be the world's most trusted betting platform and your number one source for everything online betting. From the earliest odds to in-game live betting, BetOnline provides you with all of the action and the ability to watch the games as they happen. Large selection of odds, large selection of props, football, NBA, college football, college basketball, NHL, and more. Head on over to BetOnline today to use promo code BELIEVE, BLEAV, for your welcome bonus on your first deposit. BetOnline, the game starts here. All right, got that out of the way. Let's go. Let's get into this. Denver wins 141-111. Big time blowout. And the most important thing from this, they won the first quarter. The 7th time in the Nuggets season that they have won a first quarter. You remember last year when the Nuggets were killing first quarters every single season, every single game? It was awesome. Now they have only won the 7th out of 22 tries for a first quarter victory. By the way, the Nuggets are 7-0 when they win the first quarter. So just keep that in mind, that when they actually do win it, it's pretty good. They do a good job. And 38-23 was the margin that they won it with. That was the best margin, the highest margin that they were able to put out there. So, look, this was a good response, a very good response for the Nuggets. But you don't know whether they're going to kind of let go of the rope a little bit throughout the game. Nope, didn't do that. Honestly, the closest the game ever got after it got into blowout range was about 18, 19 points. It was a really good response by the Nuggets. And they deserve that credit for that, because you're on the second night of a back-to-back. Tired legs are going to hit. Obviously, it's never easy to play on the second night of a back-to-back, but for whatever reason, this Nuggets team has been really good on the second night of back-to-backs. I don't remember the exact record, but I don't know if they've lost on the second night of a back-to-back so far this season, which is tremendous. That's you're not supposed to do that. But it's good. And the way that they've been able to put that out there and the way that they've been able to put that together as a team has been great. But the guy who really deserves most of that credit is Nikola Jokic. Joker is ridiculous. This is an all-time run that we are seeing, of course, from him. And you could see it in a number of ways that it manifested yesterday. First of all, the numbers, just 35 minutes, 48 points, 14 rebounds, 8 assists, 3 steals, tremendous production across the board. 17 of 29 from the field, 3 of 6 from 3, 11 of 13 from the line. If I just stopped right there and talk about the Wizards game as well, where he had 56, 16, and 8, and he took 38 shots in that game. When was the last time you think that Joker took 67 shots between two games? I don't think it's ever happened. I don't even have to go look that up. It has not happened before. The way that he has gotten super aggressive right now, knowing and understanding the role and responsibility that he has for his team, like, it is just tremendous to see what he's been able to do and to see him put the team on his back in this way. He called out the team at the end of last game, or the end of the Wizards game, and basically said, hey, in my country, guys don't get a paycheck as large after games like this. My country, guys get benched. Guys don't play all the time. It's a little different in the NBA, obviously, because the NBA product is so focused on the money, and if you get paid a whole bunch of money, then you're not just going to sit. But I do think that it's kind of impressive for him to even say that, because he's never said that before. He's never gone to those lengths. He's never gone out of his way to kind of call out the team a little bit and say, hey, this is not okay. And I am glad to see it, because the team needed a wake-up call. The wake-up call could have just been the Washington loss, but when your leader says something like that, like, you can't just lead by example. You have to do it verbally. But then what I really appreciated about Joker, and I got a little bit of flack on this for last night's show when I said it, but I'm going to say it again. When you are a leader and you throw the team under the bus and then watch them get run over by the bus in the next game, that's one thing. When you're the leader and you throw the team under the bus and then you go under the bus and you go ride with them in the next game, that is a drastically different thing. It's a drastically different feeling. Joker did not let the team get run over after calling them out. He helped participate in their recovery. He was somebody who was out there in the trenches with them, and not all superstars do that. A lot of superstars they'll wipe their hands of it. They're like, you know what? That's not me. I'm not that guy. It's not my fault. And I really appreciate Joker, because he's never done it before. How is he going to react this particular time? What is the team going to do? How are they going to react? And it seems like there was a nice little moment that they could really come together and say, hey, look, we are all in this together. Yes, Joker's playing at an all-time level. Yes, he's great. But it is all of us if we're going to win basketball games, if we're going to be successful. So credit to the team. And credit to Joker. You can't just dip out after something like that. And I think that he did. Like, that's a tremendous thing that he was able to do. And on top of it, like, he was just unstoppable in this last game. Clint Capella got benched at halftime because he could not hold him. Onyeka Okongwu did not do any better. 25 points for Joker in the first half, 23 in the second half. The buzzer beater that he hit from deep right at the end of halftime was tremendous. You never hit, actually, you do hit shots like that. Guys, when they get hot, they can get into that zone and they can hit shots from all over the court. And Joker was in that zone. It looked easy for him last night. And there were some shots that he was frustrated that he didn't hit, because they were also easy, the 6 foot, 7 foot push shot floaters, or the tip shots. Like, hey, sometimes it rolled off the rim and it didn't go his way. He could have had 60, and it would not have surprised me last night. So just credit to him, credit to the way that the Nuggets and him really put that out there and did some great things. He is truly at an all-time great level. I was looking at some numbers prior to this, just about, hey, what have guys never done before? We'll just start with the last 3 games that Joker has put out there, not even including these 2 games. I think it was 135 points, or 131, 50 rebounds, and 27 assists. Nobody's ever had 130 points, 50 rebounds, and 25 assists before in a 3-game stretch. Nobody has ever, regular season or playoffs, at least within the last 50 years. Joker's the first guy. just these back-to-back games that he's played on this back-to-back, very rare for anybody to have a 24 hours like this one. De'Aaron Fox had a really impressive kind of 24-hour stretch early on in the season. But this is, I mean, it's just another level with the holistic impact, what he's doing on a consistent basis, and how he's lifting up his team. There is nobody better, and there has been nobody better. And for whatever reason, Mavericks fans, Bucks fans, Sixers fans, like not as much because they don't have much to get mad at this year, but Bucks fans and Mavericks fans are being very resentful right now for what Joker is doing. Both think that their guy is better than Joker. Both want to value him. It's just not close right now. And Luka's great. Giannis is great. Joker has been like so far and away the best player in the league this year, and really last year, and really the year before. It's wild to see what he continues to do, and the way that he continues to put himself into these positions where he's willing and able to accept responsibility and accept more tasks that he has to do throughout the game. It's not just rebounding and passing. It's not just scoring. It is everything in between. And been really, really impressed with how he has handled himself. This is an all-time great season from an all-time great player. He will go down as a top 10 player of all time. It's just a matter of where. Let's take a break. When we come back, we are going to chat about the rest of the group, the rest of the team, including Michael Porter Jr., who did a nice job last night as well. We will be right back on Pickaxe and Roll. All right, we are back. Pickaxe and Roll. Ryan Blackburn here. Thank you so much for tuning into the show. Hit that like button, hit that subscribe button. Would really, really appreciate it. Let's get into Michael Porter, who I think, look, I called him out on the other show. And when you have an opportunity without Jamal Murray and Aaron Gordon to step up as a scorer, to step up as a playmaker against the Washington Wizards, you better take advantage of it, man. And he did it. He did not do it in that game. Had 11 points. He missed all 5 of his 3-pointers. He did pass the ball reasonably well, but hey, everybody passed to Joker really well that game. He had 56 points. So it's just a part of it. And the Nuggets at this point, they needed something from Mike. They needed him to show out, and he brought it. Like, yes, they needed Joker to put up what he did, but they also needed Mike to be a dominant force in the paint. And he was a dominant force in the paint, undoubtedly. Last night, the Hawks, they were missing Jalen Johnson, and I do think that might have changed how they approached that game. But they started Zachary Risachet, who's the number one overall pick in the draft, and they needed him to guard Michael Porter, and he could not guard Michael Porter Jr. Michael Porter's bigger, he's stronger, and he's, more importantly, I think he's a little bit more nuanced in how he's approaching the game now and what he needs to do and how he can approach things just for his team and then getting into the paint and making things easy for himself. He had so many buckets in the paint last night. Only 1 3. He had only 1 mid-range 2. That means that there were 10 shots that he had in the painted area, and he shot 11 of 12 from 2-point range last night. Just a really impressive performance. Only 1 free throw, by the way. Like, this was all buckets. This was all stuff that was easy that he was able to put together, finish over the top of people. Risachet had nothing for him. DeAndre Hunter had nothing for him. Anybody else that got switched onto him wasn't like they had nothing for him either. Just a really, really impressive performance from him. And you absolutely want to see that from somebody like him, because Russell Westbrook, he's got the facilitation dialed up to 11 right now. Aaron Gordon just coming back from an injury. You don't want him to have to do everything in that particular game. Christian Brown, he's kind of a do-it-all guy. He's not going to be a second scorer as well, although 22 straight games of Christian Braun in double digits is kind of a big deal. Michael Porter's been doing some great things, and he has had overall a very good season. I would like to see him continue to kind of raise the explosiveness a little bit. The lack of three-point shooting for him in moments like this is kind of shocking. You would expect him to be able to get up like 10 to 12 three-pointers in these moments and then really start to get cooking. But look, I'll take it. If the three-point shot is not working, go to what works. And he shot very efficiently last night. As I mentioned, Aaron Gordon did come back, and he was solid. Not necessarily. Actually, I'm even going to take that back. Aaron Gordon wasn't solid last night. He actually wasn't very good. Did have 6 assists, and that was nice. But overall, I did not think that he, like, 0 of 4 from 3 is whatever. It's not even about the offense. Only 2 defensive rebounds last night, and the Nuggets as a team, like Onyeka Okongwu had 7 offensive rebounds. Clint Capella had 6. A whole bunch of other guys had offensive rebounds. It was just, what is going on? Sorry, there's a whole bunch of noise outside my apartment right now because there has to be while I do the show. God, I think they might be fixing the door on the other side of my apartment right now. So apologies if you hear all of that drilling going on. But yeah, they've needed to fix that door for a while. Yeah, Aaron Gordon wasn't great last night. His defense wasn't awesome. His rebounding obviously didn't factor in, and he didn't really shoot the ball well. But it also just didn't really matter because the Nuggets just needed minutes of competency and not necessarily minutes of exquisite play, if that makes sense. Gordon was just fine for what the Nuggets needed. They needed somebody who knew where to stand and knew where to be for everything to facilitate it happening. So they just needed him back as whatever he could do. Christian Braun, 17 points, 8 rebounds, 4 assists, 2 steals, and a block. He was a plus 34 in his 32 minutes. He shot 7 of 11 from the field, 2 of 2 from 3, 1 of 2 from the line. Look, Denver still has a 3-point attempt issue, and part of it is because Christian Braun is such a low 3-point attempt player. Denver's last in 3-point attempts per game as a team, and Jokic isn't going to lift that up. Russell Westbrook obviously isn't going to lift that up. Aaron Gordon, despite the fact that he's an improved shooter this year, isn't going to lift that up. It really is all on Michael Porter Jr. In this particular lineup. So I'm not surprised that Denver has not shot the ball a ton from 3. But Christian Braun, to his credit, 2 of 2 from 3-pointer range in this last game. And then he also just abused the rim as much as he possibly could. 5 of 9 from 2-point range. He is missing some more 2s. I will say that there are still some things that he was shooting a very, very efficient percentage at the rim initially. Now he's not shooting as efficiently, but 7 of 11 overall is nothing to sneeze at. I'm definitely not going to be going too hard on that. He was tremendous last game. Plus 34 is you don't do that by accident, obviously. But yeah, between him and Russell Westbrook, especially Russ, Trae Young on the other side did not get involved in the offensive game plan for a long time. He only had 15 points and did manage to get his way up to 10 assists, but a lot of that was kind of late third quarter, fourth quarter numbers. So credit to the Nuggets and credit to Russell Westbrook especially. Let's go over him actually right now. Russell Westbrook is somebody that I have had to figure out as somebody who was a prior Russell Westbrook hater. Look, you're probably understanding that from my takes on him for this season and understanding what it means and then what I'm still trying to figure out about Russell Westbrook in general. He's not a perfect player. Nobody is a perfect player, not even Joker. Joker's really close. But Russ had a great game last game. 9 points, 11 assists, 2 steals and a block, but it was really the physical impact and the mentality and the energy that he played with. It really supercharged the team. And just having somebody that was willing and able to get into Trae Young on a consistent basis was a big deal. Denver did not. God, they just keep slamming the door on the other side of this wall. God. Russell Westbrook is like, he probably should have put him on Jordan Poole sooner in the game on Saturday night, and Jordan Poole may not have had 39 points and 8 assists. That's just a matchup that Christian Brown is going to struggle with, that Peyton Watson's going to struggle with. You need a guard. You need somebody who can get around screens really quickly and who's aggressive around those screens. Russell Westbrook, we'll see if that's something that he can continue to do throughout the season. But through 22 games, he's been a positive addition to this Nuggets team. Like, there's no question about it. And his ability to feed Jokic on a consistent basis is very, very important. Especially in this moment where Joker just knows that he needs to score as much as possible. Russ knows that he needs to pass as much as possible to Jokic, and he has been delivering the ball on a silver platter. Been great. The fact that he hasn't had more turnovers speaks to Russ's ability as a passer, because everybody knows where the ball's going to go. It's just a question of how it's going to get there, and he continues to deliver it. It really helps that Jokic has the best hands in the NBA, especially for a big man. But Russ is just taking advantage of that skill set. He knows exactly where Jokic can get the ball and where he can't. And he's delivering it to those spots over and over and over again. So credit to him. He has been a value add for the Nuggets in the starting lineup. I will reiterate, like I've said before, I don't think he's going to be a starter for the team when Jamal Murray gets back. But maybe they should probably play Russ a little bit more minutes than he had been playing before. There are some things that they've got to figure out. And I'm not going to sit here and say, like, I believe it's going to be at this level for the entire time. Like, he's shooting 57% from three from the corners. So there's something there. But I don't want to overreact too much. And yet you kind of have to overreact after a game like that Washington game. So who knows? All right, let's take another break. When we come back, we are going to chat about Jalen Pickett, of all people. Like the Nuggets bench, Jalen Pickett, and then we're going to do the participating in your own recovery conversation, because that is an important one. We'll be right back on Pickaxe and Roll. And we are back. Final segment, Pickaxe and Roll. Thank you so much for tuning into the show. And this is a good follow-up point from Chris. Absolutely, Jamal should not be playing 42 minutes like he did last time. Absolutely. The fact that Jamal, in a season that he is playing really badly, is averaging 36 minutes a game is just stupid. Like that was always going to be a dumb part of the conversation. Michael Malone has to be better about that. That is no question in my mind. He doesn't need to play Russ all of that time. And look, if he's worried about playing Jamal enough minutes, then here's what I would do with Jamal's rotation. 5 minutes in the first quarter, you take him out at the 7-minute mark and you bring in Russ. You have him play the entire rest of the quarter. Then you take out Russ and then you play Jamal with the second unit for 6 minutes. And during that time, you bring back in Russ for about the 9-minute mark of the second quarter. You give him like a 3-minute break on the bench, and then you play him for another probably 5 to 6 minutes or so in that half. And then you rest Jamal for a brief time while Russ and Joker are back on the floor with Michael Porter especially. And then that's how you run that. And then you get Jamal back on the floor. Russ doesn't close games. He doesn't need to close games. But that would put Jamal at about 30 to 32 minutes a game. That is a way healthier number than 36, especially with where he's at and where he's probably at physically. So Russ deserves to play. He needs to play more, and he needs to play with Joker as much as possible. So get Jamal those minutes with the second unit. Maybe that's where you play Dario Saric a little bit. You could play Jamal and Dario together, which has actually been a pretty solid pairing for this Nuggets group. And then you get Russell Westbrook um, the minutes with Joker that he needs to be the best version of himself. All right. Let's see. Jalen Pickett. Actually, we'll do Julian Strawther really quickly first. Julian Strawther, 13 points, 3 assists, did have 3 turnovers. It's funny, he was a -2 in a game that the Nuggets won by 30. That's not great to me, especially like if there was kind of a negative thing here. I'm still looking at Julian Strawther's level of impact on the minutes that the Nuggets are playing, and I'm not really impressed. He's been playing a lot of minutes next to Joker. The problem is that his defense still needs to improve, and there's still some aspects of his game that are a little bit green that are they still trying to figure out. He's still a second-year player. I'm not going to put the weight of the world on his shoulders, but if he is going to play a pretty big role, then the Nuggets need him to be good with it. So we'll see where he continues to go from here. Peyton Watson, kind of same thing. 1 steal, 2 blocks, but he only played about 5 minutes in the first half. And I wasn't surprised. I was looking back and kind of looking at the rotation. Peyton Watson effectively played the end of the first quarter, like the last 5 minutes of the first quarter. Then he didn't play in the second quarter. He didn't play the majority of the third quarter. Denver needed both Michael Porter and Christian Brown out there and Julian Strawther. And then they had a center, and then they had a point guard. So I'm not surprised that Peyton Watson didn't play that much in the second quarter and didn't play as much as people probably think that he did. He has to be better offensively. Like, that's the long and short of it. It's not just about the 3-point shooting or he missed a free throw. Like, he only grabbed 1 rebound in 18 minutes. He had 0 assists in 18 minutes. And the team is just a little bit shaky on the offensive end when he's out there. So like, you need Julian's offense and you need Peyton's defense, and you really need those two to be merged into one player. Or you need a time machine and you need 2 more years of development for those guys when they're both like, hey, we're both really sick and we've kind of figured out how to account for our weaknesses, account for our strengths, and balance that out and be good NBA players. It would be nice if Denver had a time machine. They don't. And so this is going to be a tough one for Michael Malone to figure out when to play Julian, when to play Peyton, when to play both, when to play neither. That's going to be a song and dance for the next 60 games. And people may not like the answers that Michael Malone comes up with. Jalen Pickett. I have ignored it for too long. Jalen Pickett had 5 points, 5 assists. He only took 2 shots. He had 2 turnovers. It wasn't a perfect outing by any stretch of the word. And yet, plus 18 off the bench for the Nuggets in 17 minutes, by far the highest plus minus off the bench for Denver. And the way that he made it happen was really impressive to me. Jalen Pickett's had confidence issues for a while. It's one of the reasons why he has not been able to really stick. Why when he's dribbling down the lane or when he's about to make an attacking move, he doesn't really want to take chances. And when you don't want to take chances, when you're not aggressive, you often just kind of stall out the possession and then force the burden of creation onto somebody else. And that's not good, especially as a point guard. And then as a defensive player, he can be undersized. He can be a little bit slow. And so that's one of the reasons why he hasn't played. The other is that he's just like, hasn't been in a good headspace, and the Nuggets haven't really trusted him. He got an opportunity last night and made the most of it. 5 points, 5 assists, as I mentioned, but it wasn't just about the numbers. It was about the way that he approached it. He didn't take a ton of shots. He mostly got out of the way. But in the moments where, hey, Nikola Jokic has the ball and he's waving Jalen Pickett over to run DHO, to run pick and roll with him, saying, hey, come on, let's go. Let's get involved. And when you've got the MVP, a potential top 10 player of all time, waving you over and saying, it is your time to handle the basketball, you better play. You better try. And he did. and he hit a big three over the top of Onyeka Okongwu, I believe. He hit a nice in pick and roll with Joker. He hit a nice pull up two from the elbow. He set up Joker. He set up DeAndre Jordan on a lob. It was a really awesome moment. In a season where Denver's had some struggles, obviously, in a season where the Nuggets are still trying to figure out, hey, can we actually compete for a championship? One of the reasons why people were so irritated by the fact that they may not be able to is because Jalen Pickett didn't really develop the way that the Nuggets were hoping him to. He didn't really get an opportunity, nor did he really deserve it for a while. And so you get him out there, you play him, you see what he's got, and you hope, hey, you know what? Leave it all out on the court, man. You're probably not going to get a large opportunity going forward, so you might as well play. And he played well. And I hope he continues to get some opportunity, or at least uses this to springboard the rest of his career. He can absolutely do it. It's up there. It's up in the mental. And I do think that he's clearly worked on his game. In the G League, he's been really good. He averages close to a triple-double basically in the G League. He's been awesome. He hit a game-winning three from the right corner. He can shoot. He can play. There's no question about it. It's all about what happens when you get into a difficult situation. Can you work that? And he did. I'm hopeful that he finds a way and that he finds a way onto the court. But if he doesn't find a way onto the court again, then at least teams have seen, okay, he can do some stuff. He can play. He can do some things. He strikes me as a good second draft candidate for a lot of other teams. I don't think it's going to work out for him in Denver, but I want it to. I really do. I did a sit-down interview with him before his rookie season. He's a really nice guy. You want to see guys like that do well. So I hope I'm rooting for him. I think everybody is too. It's just, you never want to see somebody go through something like that. So I hope that he continues to find a way. Last thing before we get out of here. The Wizards' loss was so bad that it caused, for a lot of people, including me and on different platforms, sort of existential crisis of hey, this Nuggets team is just not going to do anything. This is clearly not the season. And so you hit a low point. You hit a point where, they haven't worked out to your point so far. And now you're 22 games into the season and you're 12-10. Hasn't been the best season, but it's not like it's your worst ever season, ever. I do think that the Nuggets can continue to work out of this. It's not going to matter if Jamal Murray can't get back to form, because he is really the thing with this team. If he doesn't get back to the place that he needs to be, then nothing really matters, because they don't have the flexibility financially to work around his departure. But if he gets back to, let's say, the place that he was at last year, can Denver still find a way to make it happen? Can they still find a way with the way the Joker's playing? He's better than he's ever been. Sorry. He's just not even close. Do they have the elements around them to make it work? And I don't know what the answer is. Christian Brown's playing pretty good. Aaron Gordon, I believe and I trust in. Michael Porter, we'll just have to see what that looks like. Russell Westbrook, I think, is an upgrade on Reggie Jackson. That's for sure. Is Julian Strawther an upgrade on Justin Holiday? Probably not in the playoffs, but we'll see. Peyton Watson, probably an upgrade on what Peyton Watson was last year for Denver. The problem is that Denver doesn't have a backup center that they trust, and that's still something that they have to figure out. But hypothetically, if they figured out some of those things, could they be better than they were last year? Yeah. Yeah, of course they can. Even though that they've been through this, they've gotten to this point, I still think that they can advance within the playoffs. It's just going to be really difficult, and they might have to make some pretty tough choices, and it's going to be a long road. But when you lose a game like they did to the Wizards, all that kind of goes out the window to me. All of it. Like you can't talk about the playoffs anymore. You just have to work on the day to day. You cannot look ahead in any way possible. Who's going to buy in to the day to day? Who's going to buy in and participate in their own recovery? Because the Nuggets will probably recover. They'll probably play some pretty good basketball over the course of these next few weeks. It wouldn't surprise me at all. Are they going to be great? I don't know. But they're probably going to be better. And to me, like, this is where you really show if you want to be here or not. And who wants to be here. Like, who's going to be buying in to this? Who's going to be getting to the best shape of their life? Who's going to be putting on a show? And who's going to be playing for each other? Who's going to be diving on the floor? Who's going to be getting into the stance and blocking out defensively? Who's going to be doing the detail stuff that nobody else wants to do, but helps the team win basketball games? I don't know. I don't know who's going to do it. I think Joker's going to do it, but he also has the heaviest burden of anybody in the NBA. So he's going to need some help, as the Washington Wizards game really showed. So I don't know what it's going to look like over the course of the next 6 weeks, next 8 weeks. Are the Nuggets going to be able to recover? Who knows? But what I do know is it's not going to happen. Like, a long-term success is not going to happen unless you have great Monday, a great Tuesday, a great Wednesday, a great Thursday, a great Friday, a great Saturday and Sunday. And the doing it all again. And then just being a little bit better every single day. Like, this Nuggets team has always been a team that's been built on process over results. And I hope they get back to that. I hope they start building those championship habits again. I hope they start building those habits of a winning basketball team, a winning basketball culture. Because if they don't, then none of this matters. Like, if they aren't willing, and if it isn't like ingrained in them that they have to do the winning things, make the winning plays, it's just never going to happen for them when it comes down to it in April, May, and June. So we'll see whether they can get back to that. I am hopeful that they can. We will see what it looks like. The schedule as it looks like right now, Nolan says Friday is Clippers. Denver doesn't play on Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. They have a long break here. Given the in-season tournament, every team has a little bit of a break. We will see what happens and whether Denver can make the most of it. I'm hopeful that Jamal gets back and gets healthy and Denver looks a little bit better in that time. They'll get some practices in. We'll talk to Michael Malone. He'll probably have plenty of things to say about this road trip. I'm looking forward to that. It should be a lot of fun. Everybody, that is going to do it for this episode of Pickaxe and Roll, brought to you by our good friends over at BetOnline. Thank you so much for tuning into the show. Appreciate the love and support on the podcast as always. I think I will be back tomorrow. This obviously, it's an interesting time for the Nuggets, interesting time for the NBA. There's not a ton going on, but I'm going to try to get some guests on the show over the course of this week, and we will see what happens from here. Thank you so much for tuning in. Hit that like button, hit that subscribe button on the way out. I will talk to you guys very soon.